Will the committee supply please come to order? This section of the committee supply will now resume consideration of the estimates for the Department of Agriculture. Questioning for this department will proceed in a global manner. The floor is now open for questions. The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm happy to be back. Second day of questioning. We were talking about 4-H clubs yesterday, and the minister shared that we have 97 clubs and over 1,000 members. I just want to ask the minister how many of these clubs and how many members are in our city, Winnipeg.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. As you know, 4-H is important to all of us, I believe, in this room. It's a great organization. I think we spoke yesterday of how we admire what they do and the role models they set out for our children. I guess the member could have done the same thing as our staff here and just asked Uncle Google if there was a 4-H club in Winnipeg, and there's the U of M Future Leaders 4-H Club. So that's outstanding, and they the same Google search showed that they just had a social, and they had a raffle with pizza and a whole bunch of good stuff. So I'm sure they had lots of fun there. But if the member would like us to Google something else, please feel free to ask us another question.
The Honorable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This setup of estimates is designed to offer us an opportunity to work together. Otherwise, we would be Googling at home and not together here. So we are working together for Manitobans. we are talking about the importance of 4-H clubs for Manitobans, and we are talking about the opportunity that we can explore while sitting together discussing how we can take advantage of such wonderful programs to shape up the personalities of Manitoban youth. So why I'm asking this question is not just to see the numbers, but sit together and plan something, because I think our families, urban families, also deserve that opportunity to send their kids to these wonderful 4-H clubs. I have talked to so many 4-Hers. I have talked to families. I have talked to Manitoba 4-H Council, and there is a feeling that the department should make efforts to open these opportunities for youth in the city settings. So I am ready to work together with the minister, and I want to ask the minister that if it's on minister's agenda to bring in diverse people from various ethnic backgrounds currently residing in the cities, new Canadians, so that they can explore these opportunities and get benefit and be great leaders through participation in 4-H program in Manitoba. So rather than Googling, I would prefer to ask the minister to work together on that and share his views, how he thinks about expanding that inside the perimeter.
The Honorable Minister.
Yeah, I think probably everyone here would appreciate any open opportunities for 4-H. But if the member suggests that we should control 4-H and how they run, and I would suggest that the group that is working there, the leaders of the community, the leaders of the 4-H, is doing a bang-up job. And on this side of the house, we have 100% faith in the leaders making those decisions for 4-H. And I think Shannon DuPont is doing an amazing job, and I don't think agriculture nor government should take over 4-H. We can all agree that 4-H is an outstanding program. And on this side of the house, we welcome everyone from all cultures to participate in 4-H, because we definitely feel it's a good program. And in such that we fund 4-H for $300,000 per year, and we'll continue to do that for the foreseeable future. There's also been an endowment set up historically, and that's $1 million endowment, and it's with the Brandon Community Foundation, and it provides $42,000 a year in scholarships. So in 2022, it gave out 4 scholarships, 3 of them for $10,000 and 1 for $12,500. I think it's probably, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Ag in the Classroom is also an outstanding program where we can get students focused on ag for a little bit of the time while they're there. They have these amazing kits that they bring in, and we help them with that. But these kits that they bring into the classroom, it actually has all sorts of different types of seeds. So the kids there can actually see what soybean seed or a canola seed, so they know where their margarine comes from, or if somebody's talking about biofuel or something like that, they can actually understand exactly what all of the seeds look like. And they're doing an outstanding job as well. I won't get into the funding at the second with Ag in the Classroom, as the question was focused on 4-H. But I do feel endowments are a very powerful tool to help communities that want to have a gift that keeps on giving. And with Brandon, we've done that. We set up $1 million foundation which funds their scholarships. So I think that's a great idea. And the $300,000 per year is also decided on by the leaders of how they're going to utilize that $300,000. So I really hope the member isn't suggesting that government is in proposal together. I'd be more than happy to look at it, but I don't think taking over the great work that 4-H is doing and bringing it into government is something that we should focus on. I do agree, though, that we should focus on what we can to help 4-H do expand, if that's where the member's going, expand with the great work that they do, and we do that at an arm's length by funding. And I think that's the direction that we should continue on the path. We're on the right path, and there's probably, I guess, I'm probably not allowed to ask how many people participated in 4-H in the room here, but I think there'd be quite a few people that raised their hand. Anyway, I'll leave it there and for some further clarification from the member for Burrows.
The Honourable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question was regarding collaborating and helping each other to work together and help Manitobans. We trust the leadership in every department, and they're doing great. But we also need to help each other and collaborate to bring in more opportunities and to achieve what we want to achieve together. So the minister sounds like he thinks that I've given the money and that's it. My responsibility ends there. My question is, again, working as a team makes things better. So I don't think that the minister is open to sit around the table and work with the departments around him to make things better. Wherever I get a chance or opportunity to talk to these leaders, I do. And I have known over those years of working in Manitoba agriculture and talking to such leaders in various departments that there is a need, there is a feeling that 4-H clubs should be established within perimeter in the city, and 4-H clubs should bring in more diversity and inclusion. And efforts are being made. I am making efforts. I don't know why the minister is not ready to join hands and make some efforts to make this happen. I don't see any passion. And I also want to mention this here that all of us feel that there is a big urban-rural divide in our province, especially our next generation. I'm not just talking about new Canadians, I'm talking about all kids in the next generation. They know less about the land. They know less about animals. They know less about nature. We need to bridge that gap and we need to narrow that divide. That was the purpose of my question that was not very much encouraged by this minister, but I would keep doing the right thing and I would keep talking to leaders in 4-H Manitoba. And I have also, talking about ag in the classroom, I have seen those educational tools that Minister just mentioned. I have touched those seeds and those seed kits, and I have talked to the leaders in ag in the classroom, how they're sending those in the schools, and there's a path to identify various categories of seeds and crops, which is a good thing because we need our next generation to know more about land and agriculture. And because people look at somebody who is leading the Department of Agriculture to do great things for Manitobans. So that's why I started this discussion. Anyways, I would keep doing my part, and I would leave it to the minister if he wants to join hands or not. It's totally up to him, but I appreciate the details that the minister shared. I would give another opportunity to the minister because this is where we would be ending this discussion on 4-H clubs and ag education. So if minister likes to jump in and say a few words about ag education, he is welcome to do so.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, we all hope that diversity moves forward in all of our groups, especially 4-H and the kids, and getting them in and helping each other succeed. I know that's one thing that 4-H does, and Shannon Carvey of 4-H is doing an amazing job doing that. Just so the members aware, we have had no specific request from 4-H Manitoba to expand into Winnipeg more, but yes, definitely open for any discussions to expand 4-H because I truly feel it's an outstanding program. But now back to ag in the classroom, as the member mentioned, there is a very good website if the member wants to look at it, but I'll just go over a few numbers that we pulled off there. So Ag in the Classroom participated in 153 different communities around Manitoba. So that is, and it works out to 1 of every 3 schools actually were able to participate in Ag in the Classroom. So that's an outstanding start, but it requires much more growth because I think it's advantageous for people to understand where their food comes from and on all corners of it as well, not just the seeds, but how beef and pork and our chickens, our eggs, our milk, everything like that is processed, and how we make it safe to ensure that we have that public trust. Now, that's 179 schools in Winnipeg last year were visited by Ag in the Classroom. So that's a good start, but there is room for improvement there, room for growth, I should say. They've been doing outstanding improvements over the last couple of years of getting into more and more schools. So hats off to them. So in 2022, there was 184,063 student experiences with Ag in the Classroom. So that again, that's student experiences for a total of 28,580 students. As the education critic is looking, how can they have that many students? No, it's not 184,063 students. That's how many experiences they had. So obviously visiting some of the schools multiple times. But they did have an impact on 28,580 students. And it's not just students, it's the teachers that also get involved. So 1,244 teachers were involved in Ag in the Classroom, and that's that helps as well. So teachers are now equipped with that education that they learn on those days that Ag in the Classroom is there, and they retain that knowledge and they pass it on to the youth, and that's important as well, so they can pull on that information for years and years to come. So yes, Ag in the Classroom is outstanding. 4-H is outstanding, and we've been in consultations with both Ag in the Classroom and 4-H to see how ourselves as a government can continue to help them. I think I mentioned Clover the other day and how important of a tool that is, but I didn't elaborate on the kids that were lined up to use it. They were, the ones while I was there were predominantly farm kids, because as I grew up, obviously it can be a little hazardous when you're helping deliver a calf, but sure, I was there all the time passing the tools and calving chains and everything else that you may need for pulling a calf, but I never pulled a calf myself at a young age. So these young farm kids were lined up so they could actually feel and feel inside and see what it feels like for the calf and how it's laying in there, and whether it's breached or the head is turned back. So it's a powerful tool for everyone, whether they're on or off the farm. You can't just make the assumption that they're practicing that they pulled a calf just because they grew up on a beef farm. They may have seen lots, but may not have actually practiced.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the minister reflecting on that. Ag education and these educational tools are really, really important, and they're successful too. I had this experience when I saw my son at Manitoba Winter Fair, just stopping at 4-H club stall and feeling the calf inside cow the clover. So he would retain that knowledge because he practically saw that, how it feels. So it's important. That's why I'm emphasizing that we should use such opportunities and tools to educate our next generation, because when we talk about labor shortage, in future, in Manitoba specifically, in agriculture specifically, we need to create interest in the next generation. Where would the labor force come from? We have to make some efforts because we know that it's been published recently that 40% of Canadian farmers will retire by 2033, and the agriculture sector will be short 24,000 general workers. It's been recently published. And if we talk about Manitoba, by 2029, we would need 27,000 workers in agriculture in Manitoba. And 33% of the workforce will retire in Manitoba. And we would need 2,700 additional workers. Out of those, 1,800 is general workers and 900 are managers. So we need to train the workforce. That's why I'm emphasizing it again and again. So there would be a risk of 5,300 jobs in Manitoba that might be unfilled by 2029. And this gap is 3 times the numbers from 2019. So that's a serious situation. And I want to ask the minister if he can share a bit about his plan to address the labor shortage in agriculture in Manitoba.
The Honorable Minister.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. The department is working proactively with industry stakeholders to address the challenges of a tight labor supply. The members of the Sustainable Protein Workforce Roundtable under the Manitoba Protein Advantage Strategy are working collaboratively to identify gaps in Manitoba's protein workforce and initiate cross-sectional projects that increase inclusivity, traction, and participation in the workforce. The department worked closely with industry through the pandemic for a smooth the path for temporary foreign workers to support and stabilize the Manitoba's agriculture and processing labor force shortages. And I think if members here recall that the NDP stood in the chamber and asked for Maple Leaf and other large processing plants to be shut down during the pandemic, even though there is no evidence of any COVID that had been contracted in that plant, because they had taken the initiatives to prevent COVID. They had all of the barriers in place and wash hands and all that good stuff. But can you imagine being a temporary foreign worker and coming to work in a place like that, and then all of a sudden you're sent home because of a decision, a rash decision of government? If the NDP was in power, they would have closed down that facility. But the government is working with industry and academia. So just an example of that, or a few of them, Roquette is working with ACC, Assiniboine Community College, and Protein Industries Canada to see training for in-demand skills to support protein and industrial development. So some of those skills, just for example, to include would be chemical engineering technologists and a food science diploma. All those are very important to our labor force and industry in Manitoba, and we're working hard to ensure that we have that. I'm sure the member is aware that, as he mentioned in his comment, that there is a human resource across everywhere, whether it's private industry, government, and that includes farming, to try and find somebody just for something as simple as having a Class 1 license to haul grain off the field. It's getting more and more challenging. My neighbor has a Class 1 license, and he's retired, and he goes for that couple months in the spring and a couple months in the fall to help out on the farm because he's got a Class 1 license, and he's valued beyond belief. But all of this starts by educating our youth and having them participate in things like Ag in the Classroom, and that's why we fund it through, I think it's been nearly $500,000 over the last 3 years to fund Ag in the Classroom, and the largest investment so far has been this past year, 22-23 budget year of $224,200 to help Ag in the Classroom get all of those messages out there. And all it takes is maybe some young guy or girl, kid in the class to see that and get interested and get excited over it. And then they want to start a career in agriculture. And that's the benefits of whether it's 4-H or Ag in the Classroom, just interacting in general with kids that would show an interest, might spur that interest. I do know there's stories of people that went to U of M and they went to WE Days and they're from the city, and ultimately they end up choosing agriculture and getting a diploma in agriculture. So that's outstanding that we can attract people from the city of Winnipeg or any larger areas like that to take a unique, probably, career path from a normal or a regular choice of somebody in the city. So that's exciting that we have these different, whether it's Ag in the Classroom or 4-H, that can move these things forward.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Did mention about diploma program, which I believe is at University of Manitoba, and I'm in touch with the university and School of Agriculture, and I visit them at certain occasions, sometimes listening to the presentations from the students who are pursuing that diploma. But the problem is serious. Again, I want to emphasize that there is not enough interest in the next generation to get into agriculture, because many of them do not understand what agriculture is. It's way beyond farming. I know that even the available positions in diploma in agriculture at University of Manitoba are not being filled every year because there's not enough interest. I'm talking about how to create interest, how to bring in more people into agriculture, how to train the future labor force that we need, and we are losing revenue in the industry because of lack of supply of these workers that we need. Talking about this is important, but what's even more important is taking action. And who takes action? The one who is leading. And who is leading? Minister of Agriculture. even without investing in any additional resources for training, we can just encourage people to join the current programs that we already have, and we are underutilizing those programs. That's what I am emphasizing on. That's what I want the minister to think about. That's what I want the minister to act on. Because Manitoba lost 367 million of sales due to labor shortage in Manitoba in recent years. And there are businesses who want to expand. They have to either delay or they have to altogether cancel their expansion plans due to labor shortage. And it's not possible to fill in that labor shortage or supply local people for those jobs. We need to think about avenues and opportunities and possibilities to bring that workforce from somewhere, because it's expensive for us not to do anything. Inaction is costing us a lot. So the thing is, there have been efforts in the past. In 2007, NDP government started a new program, which was a baccalaureate program for internationally educated agrologists program. And I can say this with confidence that in Manitoba, there are so many internationally educated agrologists that are available, but they're not working in agriculture. Some of them are driving cabs. Some of them are working in industry, production lines. Some of them are exploring some jobs and avenues and insurance and real estate and whatnot. So what I'm asking the minister is to give some attention to those human resources that we have here in this city, in this province, and give them opportunity to bridge those gaps that would help them to get into the industry. So the program that was started under NDP in 2007 was a very successful program called the Diploma for Internationally Educated Agrologists. So it was 8 months program plus 4 months of paid internship. And it was so successful. I personally know so many new Canadians, not anymore new because they were here, and they are working in the Department of Agriculture, in private ag industry, and they're so thankful to the NDP government because we started that.
The honorable member for Burroughs' time has expired. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I just want to talk about a few other initiatives that we've been doing to encourage people to make a step into agriculture. Hopefully the members taking the time to go out and visit at the Farm and Food Discovery Center, which is south of the perimeter, but it's part of U of M. And we provided funding for a new layer barn there to the tune of $1.5 million. And that barn is outstanding. When kids will be able to go there on field trips, they can walk through that barn, and you can actually look through windows, through the glass, and see what the chickens are doing. They have different types of housing models there, so people can see the difference between the two of them and how they produce and how they interact with one another, and it's really exciting. So if there's any teachers out there and you're looking at a field trip to go to, consider going to the Farm and Food Discovery Center at the U of M, south of the perimeter, a few miles on Highway 75. Speaking of U of M, we've also invested in a protein chair, and that'll be $1.5 million that we put towards a strategic research chair at the U of M. And it will provide strategic research priorities and focus on collaboration and knowledge. The member might also be aware we have had made an announcement to invest $10 million to develop the ACC, or Assiniboine Community College Prairie Innovation Center for Sustainable Agriculture. And I think we can all understand and appreciate that farmers are the backbone of the province. And we're committed to ensuring that farmers not only survive, but thrive. Mark Frizen was of course very excited to have that announcement, and he was excited to see the step forward to support the new program for the labor market development.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have visited that UFM research station many times, and I have rather taken like hundreds of people there in last few years, because I know that that's the facility where families can learn more about agriculture and opportunities there. I noticed Minister did not pay attention to my ask twice. Once, how can we diversify 4-H clubs? How we can expand to new Canadian families, adding diversity to our 4-H Manitoba Council. He ignored that. Again, now I'm pointing out that there was a program, or there is still a program, which focuses training or bridge the knowledge gaps for new Canadians. That's an opportunity where we can train those people who are already masters or PhDs in agriculture, and Canada did not spend a single penny on their training. And if we can invest in such programs which bridge those knowledge gaps, and it's not as expensive as training an ag graduate from scratch, why are we not focusing on that? Why is the minister not interested to bring in new Canadians, people of color, and use their knowledge and expertise to serve the ag industry? So my question is, before the question, I would like to share that not even a single admission happened in that program since PC government took over. So why the government is not making efforts to keep such wonderful programs which were successful, which could be successful, and why can't we expand those programs and get benefit of the people and skills that we already have in our province?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, our government is interested in open and having a very diverse agriculture population. And in my area, we're getting a huge attraction from the Philippines. They're coming and working on farms, and their spouses and kids are participating in 4-H now. It's outstanding to see how well somebody coming from a complete another country can integrate into the community. I was at the swine seminar here not too long ago at Victoria Inn, and that's another great event that everybody gets together, and there was a large percentage of the BIPOC community there that were participating, because they were all managers from the barns that came in. And it was so nice to see that diversity there in agriculture. For internationally educated agronomists, the Manitoba Institute of Agrologists, the Manitoba Institute of Agrologists determines their education, and they're in charge of licensing in Manitoba. Obviously, our goal is to match the demographics, and just with the province of Manitoba, I'm sure the members are aware that we have different areas that boxes that are checked, whether visible minority, women, disabled, Indigenous. All those are goals to be inclusive. And I really believe these efforts, along with many others, will increase the diversity in agriculture. But as the member mentioned before, participating in 4-H is a huge advantage, and ag in the classroom as well is a huge advantage to get our youth to start participating.
The Honourable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is specific to the internationally educated agrologists program at U of M. Can the minister commit to fund that program and let the new agrologists in Canada take benefit of that program, because that was started by NDP in 2007. It ran very successfully. People didn't have to drive cabs instead of being a farm manager or a specialist in Department of Agriculture or relevant professional positions in the industry. So that's an opportunity. It's not a huge deal to restart that program, but I would like the minister to commit or think about it and start that program, because that specifically focuses new Canadians, people of color, and it would help us diversify our industry. Is the minister willing to fund that program again?
The Honourable Minister.
Yeah, the member will have to turn back time a little bit, maybe, because I think advanced education is not in estimates anymore. I think they've wrapped up, but that's a question for advanced education.
The Honourable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have concerns about the leadership. Sometimes ignoring or having ignored people of color. In 2018, member from Lakeside was Minister of Agriculture, and I was working in the Department of Agriculture. There was a team of 11, and 5 positions were cut. 100% of those 5 positions were people of color. Could be a coincidence, I don't know. But it tells a lot about inclusion and diversity, and the approach that this PC government have had regarding people of color. And I did got an opportunity to ask this question to the then Minister of Agriculture right here behind this building, south side of this building. And the minister refused to listen to me for 37 seconds. I just requested half a minute to let me talk about the issue. And the minister rushed to the stairs of legislature. I was heard. And it's not about me. It's about people of color and how they're being treated in this province. How would a leader responsible for a department would push a vegetarian who has never touched meat in her life to be a meat inspector? So this is the way decisions have been made in this department. And what happened? She took premature retirement because she could not work in an abattoir. I was not listened to. I resigned with dignity. I didn't want to be pushed to meat inspection. And I did request the department and the minister that please don't push me, because I have done my research in communications. And Mr. Chair, do you know why such things happen? Because the leadership puts people in a situation so that they leave. This is the way, this is the strategy they cut these positions. But I have more questions about diversity and inclusion. I was working in a diverse team, all wonderful people, and we were achieving so many things together. But that was unfortunate. I wanted to share that. But we need to do better on this diversity and inclusion issue in the department specifically and in general in Manitoba.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
I really hope the member will go on record and retract the statement that that's a ridiculous allegation that the department would make decisions based on the color of someone's skin. I really would encourage the member in his next moments here to make that apology to the department. I have 100% confidence in the department and in the staff, management, right up to the Deputy Minister who's sitting beside me here at the moment. I have full confidence in them.
The Honorable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Talking about diversity and inclusion further, I'm happy to see the numbers in this publication that the department has 65% women employees. However, it has only 5% Indigenous and just 3% persons living with disabilities. What efforts is the minister making to improve this percentage?
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
I would really encourage that member to retract that allegation that the department would make a decision of employment based on the color of their skin. Again, I have 100% confidence in this department.
The Honorable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can reflect on what I said, that the positions that were cut were all people of color. And I also said that could be a coincidence. I don't know. That's what I'm saying now. But what I want to focus now is, I want to know what efforts is the minister making to improve this percentage of Indigenous people, which is 5%, and people living with disability, just 3% in the department. Are there any efforts being made to improve this percentage?
The Honorable Minister.
I would really encourage the member to retract his statement, his allegation that the department would make decisions based on the color of somebody's skin.
The Honorable Member for
Apologize
Burrows.
to them.
Easy for you to say, isn't it?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's
The
what he's
minister
living in.
is trying to divert the attention from the topic. The topic is diversity and inclusion. My personal experience with the then Minister of Agriculture was real, and I shared that with the committee here. And that happened. And that member is here right now. He can deny that he refused to listen to me. He did refuse to listen to me and left me alone right here south of this building, and I was standing there helpless. And I was at the lowest most hierarchy in the department, and the member was at the highest most possible position in the department. So this is not how we treat people. And then I got an opportunity to be here and interact with the same minister. We work together. And I look forward to work together with him and the current ag minister. But I did share that experience. That's a real experience, and that's the fact.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
I would really encourage the member to apologize. The department is sitting right here to apologize to them.
Order.
Minister can speak for himself.
I would ask members of this committee to respect the people that are on the floor and keep their comments to themselves regarding some of the debate that's going on. I'll return it back to the Honorable Minister.
Thank you. I would ask the member, the department is right here, right here. I would ask the member to apologize for suggesting that the department would make decisions
Order again.
based.
I'm going to call out the member from Concordia.
This is his experience.
Order.
With
Order.
Not with the department.
He's just going, doesn't matter.
Keep yapping.
I would ask again for the member from Concordia to show respect for members of this committee and allow people that are answering and asking questions and answers to let them have the floor uninterrupted, please. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
I would just really encourage the member to apologize to the department. The department's right here.
Didn't even happen. Doesn't even happen. This is his experience. He's sharing it here. You guys just want to.
Order. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
I would really ask the member to apologize for his comments about the department. He suggested that the department led
Order.
five.
Order. Again, the member from Concordia remains making comments and disruptive comments from his seat while members are answering questions and asking questions. And I would ask the member from Concordia to please stop interrupting the debate that's going on. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
The member suggested that 5 people were let go based on the color of their skin. The department is right here. He has the opportunity to apologize to the department for making those allegations. I have 100% confidence in the staff, and I know I've met them, and I've learned how they handle themselves. They're professional, and I have 100% confidence in my staff. There is no way that they would let 5 people go based on the color of their skin. They deserve an apology.
The
It is.
honorable member for Burrows, and again, I would remind members of the committee to keep your comments to yourself and allow people that are answering questions and asking questions to have the floor. The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would really request the member not to use my wonderful colleagues that I have worked with for years as a shield. I was talking about the leadership of the minister. He was wrong. He mistreated. He took decisions. And I never said that the people, 5 people who were let go based upon their skin color. I said they were all people of color. It could be a coincidence. That's what I said. And I repeat it. I can repeat it 100 times. The minister did mistreat me. The minister did not listen to somebody who was a vegetarian. Minister did try to push her to meat inspection, and she retired early. So that's a story, that's a fact, and I shared it. Nothing wrong sharing with what people are going through. And minister is using this opportunity to maybe waste the time of the committee rather than answering the questions. I raised this question, and I have so many more questions on diversity and inclusion. If the minister is ready, I can ask more questions, and these are important questions. Diversity and inclusion is important, and we need to work together to bring in more diversity in the department and in our province in general.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
So I hope the member would realize that it's not the minister that chooses where all the employees go. It is the manager that and it works up the chain. The minister doesn't have a whole org chart in front of him and point fingers at, okay, this guy needs to move here, this guy needs to move there. The member is mistaken if that's how he thinks it works. We have a great team here, a great set of managers, and they manage their employees to the 100% best of their ability, and I have confidence in them.
The Honorable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to repeat my question to the minister that the percentage of Indigenous people and people living with disability in the department is very low. What efforts is the minister doing to improve this number?
The Honorable Minister.
All things being equal, people that are Indigenous or are disabled, women, visible minority are given preference over top of other ones. So we, with women in the department, we're at 66.29, it's 66.2. Is that 29 or 2? Anyway, 66.2%, where the overall of government is 53.9. We are working on every effort as we hire people to increase that.
The Honorable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can the minister share the breakdown of representation of all equity groups at executive and management level?
The Honorable Minister.
Yeah, while we're looking that up, we have a department diversity and inclusion working group, as well as accessibility and employment engagement groups, because nothing is more important than the staff that we have right here with us, including the ones in the room. And we'll just get those numbers for the member in a second here, but he can continue on. I'll close the answer there, and we'll work on getting the numbers.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Manitoba PC Ag Minister made a bold statement in 2016 that he wanted the MB cattle herd hit pre-BSC numbers. And this number he referred to as 700,000 plus. I just want a gentle follow-up on that aggressive plan of PC government. So my question is, can the minister share whether size of beef herd in Manitoba has increased or decreased in last 7 years? I appreciate the numbers from 2016 compared to current number of cattle in Manitoba.
The honorable Minister of Agriculture.
So the member should well know that the peak of cattle in Manitoba was $680,000. That happened in 2006. And I hope the member realizes in 2016, there was 470,000. So there was a 210,000 decline due to the NDP regressive attacks on Manitoba producers. So I definitely won't take advice from members opposite on how to manage the herd. Our goal is to obviously have as many beef cattle as we possibly can in the province. And that's our goal as a whole. We also recognize that from 2016 to 2018, the herd increased in size. They had a restored hope when the PC government took over, and with the progressive conservative government, and beef numbers increased. We do recognize a drop in the herd numbers with drought. The member should be well aware, hopefully he's well aware, that we went through the worst drought in history in Manitoba in the cattle sector, and I feel that my constituency was the one that was hardest hit in Interlake Gimli. So we recognize that producers struggled through that, and that's why we brought in a $155 million drought recovery program. And that helped producers and helped them prevent from selling their herds. Some, though, just had to. They had to downsize. And so we had a buyback. We brought in the comprehensive drought program, which had an incentive to purchase your cattle back if you had to downsize your herds. So up to $250 per head to encourage producers to be able to upsize again after that. I hope the member the member is aware of when people have to downsize in tough times. It's not just cattle. This is genetics that those farmers have worked on for decades through selection of their favorite bull. I remember our farm was originally purebred Hereford. And my dad brought in a Simmental bull. He was pretty much disowned by the rest of his uncles because they were running purebred Hereford. It was almost a sin at the time. But those genetics that he developed by crossbreeding, he was very proud of, as are all producers with the genetics that they produce. And they all feel that they have the best, the best of the best. They are very proud of what they have, and it hurts to reduce the size of their herd, more so than just monetary. It's not just a monetary decision to get to reduce the size of their herd or disperse of it. It's a very emotional decision, and during that drought, I visited a lot of producers, and they were very emotional, where they have had that farm for in their family for centuries, and they're the ones that had to liquidate their genetics, their herd, because they had no other option. So I hope the member feels for the producers that have had to downsize. So
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The minister is actually diverting from the point. The point is, are we losing cattle in Manitoba? That's the point. Individual herd is something different. If you improve genetics, you could do the same with less number of animals. That's fine. But do we have more cattle in Manitoba than what we have in 2016? Like, what's the number now? If genetics was the only factor, then why would a PC minister stand up and say it out loud that I want to go back to the numbers which is like 700,000 plus pre-BSC numbers? What was the plan? And what do we have now? Did the minister share how many cattle we have now? He did say that we had 470,000 in 2016. And I was going through a publication, which is 2022 publication by the department. It's a fact sheet. And it says in 2021, we had 372,000. The target was 700,000 plus. And I also know that we lost 12,000 beef cows between 2021 and 2022, both Januaries. So we are losing cattle. What is the minister's plan to rebuild cattle herd in Manitoba?
The honorable minister.
So the member has information that's just inaccurate, and I'll enlighten him here with the actual numbers. So in 2017, there were 480,000. 2018, 506,000. 2019, 493,000. 2020, 478,000. 2021, 475,000, and then 2022, 451,000. So the member is accurate. You can see how the obviously cattle fluctuate. This is I would view quite stable compared to the 210,000 decline under the NDP. Fluctuates, and obviously with the very dry conditions in 2020 and 21, let me re-say that, with the very dry conditions in 2020 and 2021, and plus winter storms and some flooding at the start of 2022. If the member remembers, there was a ice storm that sadly took the lives of quite a few calves, and then that takes away from the replacement heifers that the producers can keep back. They also had significantly increased feed cost and reduced forage and feed inventories, and as a result, some producers have had to downsize their herds. Despite these challenges, the Manitoba beef cow herd is still the third largest in Canada after Alberta and Saskatchewan. So yes, we're down a few thousand head from 2017. Given the circumstances and the great program that the department put together, $155 million shared with the federal government in agri-recovery and drought recovery, focused toward drought recovery, and the incentive of $250 per head to repurchase any cattle that you had to liquidate due to those conditions was well received. The department spent a lot of time working on this, and our program didn't come out quite as quick as Alberta and Saskatchewan, but ours was so comprehensive. It was such an outstanding program. Alberta and Saskatchewan, they just gave everybody, here's everybody, $100 a head, here you go. There's people that didn't need that money. Here in Manitoba, if we would have done the same thing, There was people that needed a lot more than $100 a head, and there's people that didn't need anything. But that $256 or it ended up being per head. I'll get that exact number for him, so don't write that down. That was going from memory. But that well over 275, whatever it is, dollars per head really encouraged producers when they had the opportunity to start rebuilding their herd. There was also help with the federal government. You have to give kudos where you can. And a problem with liquidating your herd when you're a producer is you have all these income tax liabilities now. So if you can not have to pay tax on that with the intention of rebuilding your herd over the next year or two, depending on the program, you can actually the federal government actually brought in where they could defer their income tax for a year, and I think it ended up stretching out to 2 years because the conditions just weren't 100% favorable to upsize their herd again. But the combination of those really saved a lot of animals from leaving the province, or allowing people to maybe keep some more replacement heifers to rebuild their herd, which was part of the incentive as well. You could use your replacement heifers and rebuild your herd. So, you keep those genetics and that there. So that's, I do have to give an outstanding kudos to the department. And that number that we ended up sponsoring was up to $270 per head. And we that was a lot of great negotiating from the department with the federal government to make that happen. And I've personally heard stories, again, very emotional stories from people that they would not still have their farm if that program was not there.
The honourable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the Minister for the information, and the information that Minister shared, it confirmed that under PC's watch, not even a single cow was added to Manitoba's beef herd. And rather, we lost so many animals. The Minister said we had 470K in 2016, and we have thousands of cows lesser than what we had in 2016. Thanks for confirming that. Not a surprise. I do have some questions. I would sum up, actually. I would club the questions regarding beekeeping so that we can save some time here. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank our Manitoba beekeepers for all the great work they are doing to produce food. And in addition, this is very important, in addition to that, beekeeping industry also adds millions of dollars of indirect benefit through crop production. So thank you so much to our beekeepers for that. And these beekeepers need better safety net programs. And they are demanding help from the province to lobby Ottawa to redo the risk assessment and open U.S. border for importing bees. Can the Minister update us on this issue, please?
The Honourable Minister.
Before I get on to that answer, I just want to comment on the member's last statement that he made there at the beginning of this last one. Are we down a few thousand heads since PC took office? Yes, absolutely. We went through the largest drought in Manitoba history. What happened under the NDP watch? 210,000. It's hundreds of thousands decline under the NDP government. Are we down a couple thousand going through the largest drought in Manitoba history? Yes, we are, but hundreds and hundreds of thousands decline under the NDP. And he's he's going to sit there and giggle, which I guess I would if he realized his mistake now. This is actually quite comical. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of decline under the NDP. And yeah, that's an interesting statement. But to all the producers out there, thank you for all of your hard work. I know it's a tough go. The margins in beef cattle are maybe not where they were when I was growing up, when I was a kid. And I think on average, the margins are only 4.6% in the beef industry. So you need those numbers up there to earn that income. And I really apologize on behalf of the NDP government that they drove down our cattle herd by 210,000 of their term when they were in government. So on behalf of the NDP, I apologize that they did that. And we're going to continue working with you to bring those herds back up to the extent that we can. Please look into the programs that you're available to use. We have lots of great programs here in Manitoba to help. We've done them historically, and it's outstanding, outstanding. And I just want to say thank you. You are the backbone of Manitoba. So thank you for all the hard work you do, and keep up the great work. Thank you for those great steaks that enable some of us to put them on the barbecue. They're outstanding. And thank you for keeping not just Manitoba fed, but the world fed.
The honourable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can we put some honey on the food? It was about beekeeping, and the minister ignored my question on what is the update on his efforts, if any, to help the beekeepers in Manitoba on the help they're asking for.
The honourable minister.
So I really hope the member is aware that CFIA is the one who's responsible for assessing risks of where you can actually bring bees in from. I'm sure he's aware of that. I would hope so anyway. And we're working with industry and the federal government. We've written multiple letters to the federal government to ask them to reassess the risk. We're not asking them to dismiss the risk. We're asking them to reassess the risk. And I believe that they are working on that. If they haven't concluded by now, it will be very, very soon. And they have concerns, obviously, whether it's pests that will come in with the bees or potentially an invasive species in with the bees. So I understand why they have that risk and why they need to ensure that it's safe to bring those hives into Canada. The last thing we'd want to do as Manitoba is be the epicenter of an invasive species. So the work that they do, CFIA, is very important and very responsible. But the Manitoba Ag staff participate in the new National Industry Government Working Group on Canadian honeybee sustainability. And that's developing an action plan to help support the Canadian beekeeping sector in the short and long term by providing recommendations on how to improve the sustainability and resiliency. The current top 4 priorities in the draft action plan are 1, actions to support the national tech transfer programs, 2, actions to accelerate the development of new Varroa control products, 3, actions to maintain and increase domestic bee supplies, and 4, actions to address the current and long-term challenges to import bee supplies. Yes, I've had meetings with the Beekeepers Association, and again, it was I'm sure the member is aware that we have an overwinter bee program, insurance program that they can insure their hives with for overwintering damage, and it's and MASC administers that, of course. And in the overwinter bee mortality insurance program, it's to assist enrolled beekeepers with the financial burden of uncontrollable losses, which was the case that they went through. The program is currently insuring 25,917 colonies, valued at about $3.68 million that's insured under that program.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My next question is, how many veterinarians does Manitoba need to meet current demand?
The honorable minister.
Yeah, I just want to thank all the hard work by Advanced Education and the Department of Agriculture and collaborating to fund another 5 seats in the College of Western College of Veterinary Medicine in Saskatoon. And their hard work has now ensured that we have access to those seats, and we've secured. Grows up on a dairy farm or a turkey farm, they would easily have the 1,000 hours of required time that you need to be eligible for those seats. There's other criteria as well, but the member can ask Uncle Google what they are. They're readily available. But I feel that's very important to ensure that we do have all encourage people to go towards large animal veterinarians. I think we all know, and we have a veterinarian sitting in our midst here. I want to thank him for all of his hard work over the years as well, because I know for a fact that he serviced large animals, and that's so important to do. It's important to have those veterinarians there, of course, because I think by the time you realize that you need a C-section on a cow, the timelines are very, very short to get a vet out there. So it's very important that that work is done and that we can increase the seats. So we've increased the seats by 33%, obviously. Is there numbers on here? No, for the numbers for helping. So the completion of a minimum of 1,000 hours can be either volunteered or paid experience. I think us growing up on a farm, I don't know if you'd call it volunteer, might be more voluntold. You know, it was just part of the lifestyle, and you had to participate in that as well. But it certainly builds character as you put in those 1,000 hours and many, many more. There's also a requirement of significant work towards completing a degree in animal science at the University of Manitoba or an equivalent program. And you have to also express a desire to practice in support of commercial agriculture. Understanding that there's a lot more money in companion animals, there's a lot more feelings and emotions and passion there. Producers definitely have those feelings and emotion and passion towards their animals as well. But as they need a veterinarian, it's important to have them in the community so that they can make it there in a timely manner when that time arises. I recall even something as simple as a prolapsed uterus, where we're actually, vet wasn't available back in the day even, and we had to take care of that ourselves. That was a very interesting experience to go through as a kid, to learn your animals like that on an intimate level, I suppose. Not quite as intimate as a vet would would have, but it's a really good learning experience to reflect on through life, and I'm still trying to get those numbers here, so the member might have to just express that he's happy that we've have increased the seats in the Western College of Veterinary Medicine, and I think that's a really good job. But technically, this does fall under advanced education, so I'll attempt to give all the answers that I can. But as long as the member does understand that this isn't actually funded through agriculture. It's just agriculture worked hand in hand with advanced education to ensure that we could get those seats. I personally visited the college, and it's an outstanding facility, and I'm feel very privileged that I had the opportunity to go and tour that building. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as the minister mentioned about visiting the college, I've also talked to people from the Western College and tried to understand the situation. I know that there are situations where Manitoba farmers have to drive 200 kilometers or more. Or in other words, I can say that the nearest vet available is 200 kilometers plus. That's a tough situation. If they need any help in calving or any emergency to their animals, how would the vet get to them? And we did request 5 seats, that's fine. I know that BC doubled their seats. All the provinces are making efforts to help our producers on this supply of veterinarians. But does the minister think that these 5 seats is enough to address the situation we are dealing with?
The honorable minister.
Yeah, it's unacceptable to not have a veterinarian close by when you have livestock. So it's very important that we continue to endeavor to do what we can do to attract as many veterinarians. Of course, even sponsoring the seats, we'll have after it's fully implemented, spending $8.4 million per year on those vet seats is very important. And I want to thank Advanced Education, where this actually falls under. I want to thank them for their hard work towards those seats. Even if we have sponsored seats, though, sometimes when a student goes out there, they end up finding Mr. or Mrs. Right, and they don't necessarily end up coming back to Manitoba. But I think in Manitoba we have a great attraction here, and sometimes the Mr. or Mrs. Right comes back to Manitoba, and we get an additional veterinarian. But I do think it's important for the member to know we also have a Vet Step program, and what that does is veterinarians that are running a clinic, they can apply to have subsidized wages for either a first year, second year, or third year student to come back and practice in Manitoba, but we subsidize the wages. So what that does is very important, is it starts putting the roots down for those people coming back to practice here. And I can't imagine the day, I guess we could ask our member from Selkirk here, but I can't imagine the day that he graduated and he's probably like, okay, now what do I do? So it's very important to have that relationship with a veterinarian and maybe a clinic that you could go and start practicing in. And then you have that confidence, and then you get out and spread your wings after a period of time. But it's very important to have that relationship that you're building with the other people, your colleagues, and you end up learning a lot of stuff from them as well. And we provide $479,000 per year in operating support to the vet service districts in rural Manitoba as well. So that helps them on their path to ensuring that the vet clinics stay open. Now, keeping the vet clinic open, of course, and being able to get a prescription for scours or something like that on a very short notice is important, because as the member mentioned, driving 200 kilometers just to get a prescription for scours medication is unacceptable.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank the Minister for that information. Just wanted to know about Northern Healthy Food Initiative. How much funding is there for Northern Healthy Food Initiative this year?
The honorable minister.
Once again, we'd have to fire up the time machine to go back, and he would have to ask that question to IRNR.
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. About animal diseases, wanted to ask, why is the department's target for the number of animal disease outbreak investigations conducted in 2023 for lower than 2021-2022?
The honorable minister.
Member, please repeat the question, the disease outbreak investigations I thought I heard. Can you please repeat that?
The honorable member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would refer to page number 22. Why is the department's target for the number of animal disease outbreak investigations to be conducted in 2023-24 is lower than 2021-2022 numbers?
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, this is an average number. It obviously varies from year to year depending on what is happening with animal disease. There's also information that comes out of comes from our vet diagnostic lab. If there's a sample or something that they get that triggers investigation, then they'll do that. So there's multiple things that can trigger an investigation. Obviously, disease outbreak being one of them as well. But it's just a variable number that fluctuates from year to year. Some years are higher, some years are lower, just depending on the year. Wetter years obviously have more disease with animals.
The Honorable Member for River Heights.
Thank you. Now, the primary responsibility for climate change is with another minister, but the Minister of Agriculture is definitely the lead on helping agriculture to adapt to climate change and to reduce greenhouse gases in agriculture. So let me start with a question. What percentage of the total greenhouse gases in Manitoba are produced in agriculture? And if you could list them separately for nitrous oxide, for methane, and for carbon dioxide, that would be helpful.
The Honorable Minister.
Question for environment and climate.
The Honorable Member for River Heights.
Well, it may be a question for the environment and climate, but if the agriculture minister doesn't know the answer, the agriculture minister is going to have trouble helping with the adaptation in agriculture. Roughly speaking, the best estimates have been around 15% of Manitoba's greenhouse gases are nitrous oxide from farm use. Approximately 15% come from methane from agriculture, and somewhere between 5 and 12% come from carbon dioxide, so that the total produced by agriculture of Manitoba's greenhouse gases is probably somewhere between 35 and 42%, although I've not yet got an accurate overall estimate. Maybe the minister does.
The Honorable Minister.
I would have to go back in estimates, and I would have to ask the environment and climate minister for that question. I maybe suggest that the member grabs a time machine at the corner 7-Eleven and go back and ask environment and climate. We do have some projects, though, that our intention is to reduce it and store carbon in the soil. We have RELP, we have better management practices, we have the 4R strategy, of course, that we signed an MOU with Fertilizer Canada. We have the water strategy. There's lots of important strategies that we're employing to reduce our greenhouse gas footprint.
The Honorable Member for River Heights.
Yeah, I wonder if the Minister of Agriculture has a target for the reduction of greenhouse gases in agriculture that he's hoping to achieve, and by what date?
The Honorable Minister.
Well, I do know that the greenhouse gases were reduced significantly from 2006 through 2016, when the NDP have reduced the herd of our beef alone by 210,000. 210,000, the herd declined under the NDP. Maybe that was their greenhouse action plan.
The Honorable Member for River Heights.
One of the significant changes in agriculture in the last 30 years has been the fairly widespread adoption of tile drainage in Manitoba. I wonder if the minister can provide information as to what proportion of farm cropland is now tile drained, and what the minister's policy is with respect to tile drainage and agriculture.
The Honorable Minister.
I think the member knows the licensing for drainage doesn't fall under agriculture. Historically it did, but when the departments were moved, it's now under environment and climate. And I would also like to, I will endeavor to get those answers for you from your previous question. I don't know, whatever we do, get them to you somehow, mail them. I trust the department's capabilities of getting you those numbers.
The honorable member for River Heights.
Yeah, I mean, tile drainage has become a pretty important tool in agriculture, and initially it was widespread in terms of potatoes, but it's now being used for quite a number of other crops as well. And I wonder what since tile drainage is an important tool in managing crops in agriculture, I would expect that the Department of Agriculture would have some approach to tile drainage.
The honorable minister.
All that permitting comes through environment and climate. The permits that are issued are through that department.
The honorable member for River Heights.
Well, I thank you. I take that to mean that the Department of Agriculture doesn't have any specific policy with regard to tile drainage, and whether it's beneficial or not, and whether it should be expanded or not.
The honorable minister.
All those studies are done by Environment and Climate Department.
The honorable member for River Heights.
Yeah, one of the things that Laura Rance has been writing about in the last few months is the potential for different types of agriculture, urban agriculture and agriculture which is based on essentially producing food in test tubes. And I wonder what the Department of Agriculture has as a policy toward these new approaches to agriculture, which Laura Rance is writing about.
The honorable minister.
Yeah, I think we can look around the city and see lots of different approaches, from bees on rooftops to other things. I think they're all great ideas, and if we're not moving forward, we're stagnant. So every new idea that comes forward will be looked at in a very proficiently by the great department that we have here, and see if there's some way that we can help, if it's a viable effort.
The honorable member for River Heights.
Yeah, I wonder if the minister in his department, which I believe has some responsibility for research in agriculture, is involved in any research projects related either to urban agriculture or to the cultivation in, call it test tubes or whatever, that would be grown as cells or muscle cultures or whatever it might be.
The honorable minister.
Yeah, we fund a lot of research through our SCAP, or Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership. We don't decide what specifically what they're going to delve into, but we do support a lot of research.
The honorable member for River Heights.
Yeah, I wonder if the minister knows whether any of that research is related to either urban agriculture or this new type of growing agricultural products in culture dishes.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Yeah, that's one thing that we insisted when we were negotiating the new Sustainable Canadian Agriculture Partnership is to continue in research and innovation. And it's very important. So I'm going to comment on the last dollar value. So not quite a full 5 years, because this is till August 31st, 2022. We did $26,675,253 into research and innovation. So I apologize if I don't know exactly what every single penny went to under that, but I truly support research and innovation, and it is, if we're not researching, we don't have innovation, and then we're stagnant.
Thank you.
The Honorable Member for River Heights.
I thank the minister. I'm going to pass it back to the NDP critic for agriculture.
The Honorable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do not have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay, so seeing no more questions, we'll move on to resolutions. Resolution 3.2, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $168,923,000 for agriculture, risk management, credit, and income support programs for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Shall the resolution pass?
Pass.
The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 3.3, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $21,720,000 for agriculture industry advancement for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Shall the resolution pass?
Pass.
The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 3.4, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $13,919,000 for agriculture production and resilience for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Shall the resolution pass?
Pass.
The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 3.5, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $3,002,000 for agriculture capital assets for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Shall the resolution pass?
Pass.
The resolution is accordingly passed. Resolution 3.6, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $247,430,000 for agriculture loans and guarantee programs for fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Shall the resolution pass?
Pass.
The resolution is accordingly passed. The last item to be considered for the estimates of this department is item 3.1 bracket A, the minister's salary contained in resolution 3.1. At this point, we request that the minister's staff leave the table for the consideration of this last item. The floor is open for questions. The Honourable Member for Burrows.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that line item 3.1 bracket A be amended so that Minister of Agriculture salary be reduced to $21,000.
It has been moved by the Honourable Member for Burrows that line item 3.1 bracket A be amended so the Minister of Agriculture's salary be reduced to $21,000. The motion is in order. Any questions? If not, all those in favor, oh, sorry, is the committee ready for the question?
Question?
Shall the motion pass?
No.
I hear a no. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed to the motion, please say nay.
Nay.
In my opinion, the nays have it. The last resolution then is 3.1, resolved that there be granted to His Majesty a sum not exceeding $17,944,000 for agriculture, corporate services, and innovation for the fiscal year ending March 31st, 2024. Shall the resolution pass?
Pass.
The resolution is accordingly passed. This completes the estimates of the Department of Agriculture and the estimates in this section of the Committee of Supply.
Salary goes.
Therefore, committee rise.